Hello everyone, I hope you are keeping safe and well. This session I'm going to focus on assessment criterion 1.5, and I'm going to read out the criterion to you first of all, and then I'm going to explain to you what you would need to do for this criterion. After that I'm going to give you the information on what the criterion is about, the content of the criterion. Okay. So the criterion reads, describe the roles of the hypothalamus and pituitary gland in controlling the release of adrenaline and cortisol. Okay, so in other words, the criterion involves, first of all, two parts of the brain called hypothalamus and pituitary gland. So I will tell you where they are and what their roles are. Okay, the criterion also mentions two hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. Okay, cortisol is a steroid hormone. I will not focus on the information around these hormones in this session so much um, because there is separate information on this which I emailed you. Okay, so I'm mainly going to focus on hypothalamus and pituitary gland. So basically, in other words, what you would need to do in your assignment for this assessment criterion is you would need to say what the roles are of these two parts of the brain in controlling the release of these two hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. You need to describe these roles. You can also say where hypothalamus and pituitary gland are in the brain. You're not required to do that because the criterion doesn't ask you to do that. It just asks you to describe the roles. However, it goes with saying. It kind of makes sense to actually say where they are in the brain anyway. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the hypothalamus, and I'm going to read out some information to you as well. Hypothalamus is part of the brain that sits just underneath another part of the brain called thalamus, which are both situated in the forebrain. In other words, the frontal part of the brain. Hypothalamus serves a number of purposes, including control of several functions of the autonomic nervous system, or ANS. These include things like body temperature, hunger and thirst. It is also involved in the control of sexual behavior and the endocrine system, and also in reactions to stress. It serves lots of other functions, such as it serves as a communication center for the pituitary gland by sending messages or signals to the pituitary in the form of hormones, which travel via the bloodstream and nerves down the pituitary stalk. These signals in turn control the production and release of further hormones from the pituitary gland, which signal other glands and organs in the body. Okay, so I've read that, and now I'm going to try and simplify this and put in different words. Okay, so what we have in the forebrain, we have different parts in the forebrain. And within that, there are three structures, and they are thalamus, hypothalamus, and pituitary gland. Okay, so thalamus is something that is part of the brain that sits just above hypothalamus, or in other words, hypothalamus sits just underneath the thalamus. And then we have pituitary gland that sits just underneath hypothalamus, and it is connected to hypothalamus with a very thin stalk called infundibulum. Okay, so the three work or communicate together, and they do very similar things or functions. And I've just explained and told you what these functions are. Okay, so you have to remember that thalamus is a very important or crucial part of the brain. It serves many different functions. Okay, it's extremely important. Okay, I'm now going to move on to pituitary gland. So remember, pituitary gland sits just underneath hypothalamus and is connected or joins hypothalamus by infundibulum. Okay, so pituitary gland is about the size of a pea, small pea, and it's situated in a bony hollow just the bridge of your nose. Okay, it's attached to the base of the brain by a thin stalk, infundibulum. The hypothalamus, which controls the pituitary gland by sending messages, is situated immediately above this gland. The pituitary gland is also often called the master gland because it controls several other hormone glands in your body. including the thyroid and adrenals, and also the ovaries and testicles. Okay? It also secretes hormones from both the frontal part and the back part of the gland. Hormones are chemicals that carry messages from one cell to another through our bloodstream. Okay. If our pituitary gland is not producing sufficient amounts of one or more hormones, this is called hypothyroidism. If, on the other hand, we are producing certain hormone, overproducing certain hormones, then we would have features due to the overproduction of the specific hormone concerned. Okay, so there is more information on both of this, and I already told you where the information is. You have the resources already. Okay, there is a very detailed handout and also PowerPoint which you can use. And I hope that you found this lecture or this session useful. Okay, so thank you for listening, and speak to you soon. Bye.